just want to emphasize our importance in holding, I should say, everyone accountable for protecting the equality and giving us equal chance and opportunity, especially boys. Talking about boys volleyball,
Right.
and there may be restrictions and pre-existing, say, rules, but we believe that it's not our responsibility or job to accept the current circumstances that limit us and prevent students, kids, and also people who strongly depend on this sport but don't have the resources to play in clubs that cost $4,000 to $6,000 a year traveling. And we just really want to have this opportunity that we believe should have already existed. We believe to hopefully be formed as early as next year, or if not as soon as possible, so that students without resources, or even if we have resources, to be able to form experiences, develop ourselves, make friends, form our futures through boys volleyball and Howard Public Schools. And yeah, does anyone want to add on and talk
No,
about?
but well said. Let's get some
Yeah.
sort of like level set a little bit of the students who are here. Where do you find that way to play right now? What do you do? Where do you find yourselves? Because this is seems like a passion for you, something of great interest. Where are you finding that community to be able to play volleyball? Tell me a little bit about that.
We go to
Go ahead.
we go to open gyms. There's one called Maryland Juniors and one called Buzzer Connor, but there's not many, so we don't get to play as often as we would want to.
And is it organized informally? Is that more, or is there a formal organization? Just
It's-
provide me with as much information as I can get.
It's an open gym. It's more like a gym that happens weekly or
Okay.
some like daily occurrence, and it's for anybody really. It's not specific to like one gender or to some people.
Right.
You just pay a little and then you can go and play for fun.
So sort of organized along the lines of a pickup?
Yeah. All of you in here play there, who are interested, find yourself going there? Okay, very
If
good.
I could add, ironically, when my son had signed up for a volleyball camp last summer, I drove him to Jessup to participate. So we were going to, people were leaving Montgomery County to come into Howard County to participate in some of those camps. So definitely there are opportunities around, but I just thought it was interesting that Howard County doesn't have that, and Montgomery County people are coming to Howard County for camps, so it was interesting.
Is this a year-round, or is it seasonal? Tell me about that as well.
Maryland Juniors is from October, well, it's year-round, but they have actually club people who actually are now starting to, their director is starting to look into colleges. So these kids who get on teams, they actually have the opportunity to go to college and get scholarships through the volleyball programs. And there's only 8 boy teams in Howard County. There is over 80 women's teams in Howard County.
And then, I'm assuming there's pay for this? You have to pay for this?
Yeah, we do
So
pay for
for
that.
the club team, we do pay. So as a parent very new to the sports, I find the resources is limited because of, I guess, it's not just youth sports. So if, and it's very competitive for boys too, like for my boy who is 14, so we compete for the U15 team. There's like 60 to 70 people compete for like 11, 12 sports. So it's very competitive if you want to join a club team, and it's very expensive. And another thing is for boys who love playing volleyball, I think they lack of the opportunity to represent the school. If it's something they really want to do at the high school, if they don't play other sports, since the opportunities is limited for them, if they really truly love just playing volleyball.
Right. I mean, I'm always interested in the emergent new needs and wants and desires and interests of our students. For example, in the last several years, we've added several new cricket pitches within the county. That is something that maybe 10 years ago was not quite as active, and there weren't as many people interested in, but there's an emerging need and want and desire to participate in cricket, and so the county has responded. Same way sort of at the adult level, I have not seen it so much at the young people level. The sport called pickleball, right? I mean, you've all seen, everybody, smiles when I did not invent pickleball. It's such a cool thing. But the emergence for needing for courts and things such as that. And now this is falling in the same category for me, the way that you're presenting this. What other things would you like me to know before we get into some back and forth responses from my staff? What other things would you like me to know, other students who want to hear? Yes?
So
go
I
ahead.
want to mention is this is not a new emerge. This request or desire has been going for a long time. Since, my eldest son, he is senior in college right now, but when he was in the middle school and the high school, they were trying to put a lot of effort to try to make this happen, but unfortunately, nothing happened until now. That's why we're here, and everybody here is not only themselves, but they behalf of another about 300 kids. They really want to have this very valuable activities, especially they can happen in the school, so that is more easy for them to make it. So yeah.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for
well
that.
said, because I'm very, very joyful that we have this large participation this afternoon, so that sends a message right within itself. Thank you for that.
So another thing to add is that
Yes.
according to last year data, I think boys volleyball is one of the most growing sports, including golf,
Yeah.
nationwide. So I think as a emerging sport, I think
Exactly.
the school has the obligation to provide opportunities for our boys to grow in that aspect. And another thing just mentioned, and some boys actually, even from our counties, they actually have an opportunity to play in a college. We could provide more opportunities for them. I think that would be really good for kids, who love volleyball as a sport.
Right. Anything else that others would like for me to hear? Yes, sir.
The thing that's different between this and like the cricket situation, with all the equipment that is required is already here in schools, boards, nets, balls, they're all here. And then if we need like coaches, I'm pretty sure a lot of parents are willing to do that. And then if we just find the time, then I'm pretty sure that there's nothing else that we're missing.
And what I want you to be really clear, I am so focused on providing as many interests for our students to participate in. So I always am trying to stay on the cutting edge of what those interests may be. At the same time, I want to push out that I've watched, been an administrator for a number of years, in the evolution of sports, that our participation in terms of some of our contact sports are not as great because I think there's more of awareness of injury, concussions. I'm extremely focused on that, keeping our children, young people safe as they participate. And when you talked about golf and a number of sports, they're not necessarily contact sports, right? So the injury risk is reduced. You can get injured, but at a different level. And I've had many conversations with our parents across our community who are extremely concerned about their young people, children being injured with sports. And so there's a migration to sports that are not perceived to be contact. That doesn't say that you can't get hurt playing volleyball, because it can be pretty intense and knees can be twisted and ankles and you can have contact. But with that kind of focus as well, I'm seeing more of an interest in certain sports over others that may have been more focused 10 years ago. So I wanted to add that in and why I'm interested in talking tonight. Anything else? Because what I'd like to do is, one, again, honor the fact that you're here. But Mr. Davis is somebody that I've got great respect for. He is known statewide for his expertise for sports management within our school system, has a rich background in sports and athletics, and he is the person in charge of my athletics program within Howard County. We're very proud of him and his expertise. And we fall under sort of the Maryland Associations. It's called MPSSSA, the Maryland Association of Secondary Athletics. And there are guidelines for developing of sports and participation. I'd like for him, if it's okay with you, to provide us with some information that says, you know, what is the status of boys volleyball in the state? What is the status of, you know, the ability to create a program within Howard County? What would that look like for us? And again, you've already made a case, there is not a big outlay as far as equipment. We're thinking about, you know, nets and things such. It doesn't require a lot of specialty equipment like maybe some of the other sports do in that. So I'm gonna ask Mr. Davis to provide some information as we build on this. So Mr. Davis, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So briefly, there's 37 current schools that participate in boys volleyball, 27 of which are across the state, 27 of which are Montgomery County.
So that, I mean, that's important. So there's already sponsored by school system, boys volleyball in other districts, mainly predominated in Montgomery.
Montgomery County, yeah. And so there is no state championship, there is no playoff system, there is no anything for boys volleyball throughout the state. The only place that has it right now is Montgomery County, and that doesn't translate to the MPSSAA. The other thing that, the criteria for the MPSSAA to have a sport and or add a sport would be a 40% of the membership to be participating in that sport at the local level, which there are 220 approximately member schools and 37 now participate. So a little bit short of that, 40% area there. The other thing we need to look at as a local school system is our participation amongst all sports right now. We're kind of bound to Title IX regulations, and it's tough to add a boys sport right now when our girls' numbers are dropping a little bit, because we're losing girls from field hockey and softball and some other sports that really skew our numbers toward the boys' side. So if we were to add another boys' sport right now, that would put us in jeopardy of losing, some federal funding through a Title IX violation. We don't want that. So if we were gonna put a boys' sport in, it would have to come in with another girls' sport. The one that comes to mind is the most recent is what's happening in Frederick County right now. They've added girls' flag football. And that's sponsored by the
Have you heard
Ravens.
that?
Yeah.
So that would be something that we would look at and pair with.
And it's taken off really
Yeah.
well. Great, interesting.
Especially in the colleges.
Yeah.
Colleges, and there's a lot of states around the country that are starting it as well. So I know Alabama has a state championship for girls flag football. So what I'm getting at is we need to balance the numbers. If we are going to add another boys sport, we better add another girls sport. And number-wise, you said there's about 300 people that are interested in this. That has to offset somehow. So that's a concern of mine. So if we are gonna do this, we would have to definitely pair with another girls sport. And that adds to the cost of it. So the other financial part of this is, you're right. The equipment's at the school already. We have the standards, we have all of that, the courts are laid out. What we don't have are uniforms, coaches, all the officials, all the transportation, all that. So to give you an idea of transportation, if we're gonna do just interleague play, it costs about $600 for a bus trip for our athletic programs. So you times that by 13 schools now, and say you have a 10-game season, that gets up there in cost, and that's just one of the costs. And we have to pay for coaching staffs and the officials associations, if they're available during the time we want to do this. The other thing is facilities. In the fall, we wouldn't be able to do it. There's so many things going on already. And you've got cheerleading and you've got girls volleyball playing in the gyms already.
But the middle
The
schools are
spring,
open. The middle schools are open.
yeah, but they're not set up for
They do have volleyball.
interscholastic athletics. You wouldn't have to have a crowd, and MPSSA would like us to do, the way we're used to doing our other sports. My recommendation is to get a club team at every school. Start in the spring, and that's when the facility is available. All we have in the gyms at that point is allied softball. They're done right after school. You can come in right after those teams are out. You can have your games and things during that time, and establish a group of people at that school that are really interested in doing that, so we do know what kind of numbers we're looking at as far as participants. From that point, you think about this too. Everybody's heard of the ice hockey programs, right? To be on the more competitive level like they are, they're a part of a state association. It's not affiliated with our school system, but it's a club sport, and they do have representation from our schools to a certain extent. That would be another avenue to go through the juniors, Maryland juniors, and have them sponsor a league in our school system, and we would participate like the ice hockey teams would do. That's a step in the right direction as well. So if you're looking, and this is grassroots.
Correct.
Don't get me wrong, we're starting from scratch, zero. So the idea is to start with club, competitive club if you have enough numbers and are able to do that, and someone's willing to sponsor a league in Howard County, like the ice hockey. And then from that point, if we have representation from at least 70% of our schools, we can look at financially doing that as part of an overall addition to our programs for interscholastic athletics to participate at the MPSSA.
Now, just be, as you continue, hang on one second, please. We wanted to put all that information out about the issue with Title IX and the advancement. Would we simultaneously think about that at the same time for the women's flag football? We would do these things together to kind of start moving our way towards this. We'd have to do those simultaneously, correct? Okay, good. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Hello, Mr. Davis. My name's Yan San. I think probably you may still remember, like 2 years ago, we had this virtual meeting. I have a lot of boys and boys' parents. We attended this virtual meeting, mainly from the River Hill High School.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you already mentioned you recommend us to have the boys to have like club teams.
Right.
In the past 2 years, they have been doing this. I just want to let you know. So far, River Hill, they do have a club team. And I think,
Yeah, can I ask a question as to what you mean by that? Just because that was my big question, because there's clubs that are sponsored at the school level, but then there are club teams that I'm assuming most of you belong to.
Yeah.
If you're, so and that's a difference, of course.
yes.
Because there's a cost involved, et cetera.
Yes,
So
the
can you
club
explain
team that
a
I'm
little bit?
talking about, it's the boys initiated, they established these teams. And they've been doing a great job in the past 2 years, because I'm kind of like a support person, so I know them. Every week I carry the net and the balls to the campus, and the boys set up the net, and still it is very hard for them. So that is why I'm here, not just to support their voice, but also I'm hoping that they can get some like support from your level to help to promote, because it's really hard for the boys to promote this volleyball program. Because what I've seen is they need coach. They don't have coach. They need facilities. It's hard. In this past 2 years, they have requested what is it called, sponsor teacher. That's a little bit hard, because teacher would like to sponsor, but they will need to, if they want to apply for the use of facilities, they will have to be there. It's the school rules. They have to be supervised by some adult. So sometimes the sponsoring teacher cannot do that. So the kids, I've seen them, they have to play either very cold outside, very hot outside, but they cannot do the same thing as the girls. So that's one thing. And the other thing is like, because the lack of coach and the facilities. So many boys who used to be really enjoy doing the volleyball, they lost their interest. They switched to some other sports. That's really sad to see that happen. So that is why, that's my observation, that is why I think it is really important to get the support from your level, to promote up from top, not from the bottom, it's like maybe from both sides. So that's just my observation and my recommendation. They really, really need your help.
Well, I appreciate that approach because I'm trying to get to an understanding, that's why I want Mr. Davis to continue, is how do we make some progress in moving this in the direction that it needs to move if this is the interest of our students? So I'm saying the same thing that you are, but how do we get that moved? Because I don't believe that we're gonna jump from here to here. It's gotta be some incremental progress.
Yes.
And what's that progress look like on a long-term goal? So
Yes.
progress in several months, 1 year, 2 years, to get to the level of where some of our competing school systems are. Before I go into some of the next one, thank you for that.
Yeah, I just want to, sorry to interrupt, I
That's
just
all right.
want to mention, it's been 2 years since our last meeting, so it's not like we just started the club team. It's been 2 years, and I'm still seeing more club teams are coming up to join them. So I know, Glenelg, they have their club team, and River Hill, and I also heard that from Dr. Chow, who he said, Atherton, they also have their boys club team.
I'm just gonna
so-
ask, I was gonna scan the audience, what schools are we representing here tonight? Do we have River Hill? Raise your hand. Do I have Glenelg? Is that what we said over here? What other schools? Atherton, so I got 3 high schools. Mary's 4.
Reservoir.
Guilford.
Reservoir.
Oh, so we got some good representation here.
Centennial.
Oh, okay, good, very good. That helps me then.
Actually, we have 13 schools petition.
Yes, we have 13 high
Yeah.
schools. Yes, so that's
We
good.
have all.
Did you want to say something?
Yes, so first, I want to say, they are here as being long time, like Ms. Yansun mentioned, like, we cannot wait for a long time, things you can see year by year. They're all growing up, and they graduated from high school, and still nothing happened, and they are here. It's obviously, it can better help them to understand the situation, but they coming here is not just to listen how difficult, why, till now, still nothing happened. They really want to know is first, if you guys really want to help, do you support this petition or help them to make this desire happen? Second is, what you gonna to help? Because, like this mother mentioned, it's so hard to, a lot of difficulties, so the boys or the parents can make it happen, like establish a club here or there. Currently, they find their own way to pursue their desire, like different kind of the club, the activities, they go to here or there, like my boys, every Monday and Wednesday, because the facility issues, they cannot start their practice until 8, even 9, and they came home, it's 11 o'clock. It's like, to me, it's ridiculous, but as a mother, I still support them. But on the other side, we know definitely there's a lot of difficulties and the rules. That's why we still do not have this boys varsity. But be honest, we do not really want to see this again. It's enough. We hope you guys support, make it happen, no matter how difficult or how long it will go, and we will. Go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to say that is there anything we can learn from Montgomery County, right? They have 30 teams, and they have the same challenge, but what we can learn from them to make this happen to us. Just very quickly, if you know anything, please share.
Well, one thing is the spring is not the problem because that's when boys volleyball and co-ed volleyball happens. So that aligns with that is if you wanted to compete with Montgomery County teams, that's when they're playing. I did want to ask if, I know the advocacy is for boys, but as we're talking about paths forward and steps forward, if you had a co-ed team, would that sort of be the way to say you don't have to add another girls sport and it's co-ed, because I know, in Montgomery County, in some of the schools, the co-ed team is actually the more competitive team, because you have girls who have been on club and, you know, are your setters, and you're adding boys to that. So in some schools, the co-ed is actually more competitive than the boys teams, because again, I think someone said there's a perception that volleyball is a girls' sport, because people, if you don't have that experience with it, and it certainly is not, but that's what it can be perceived. So I just wanted to ask in terms of the co-ed, if that would be one possibility.
I was gonna say, I was gonna build on yours
Yeah.
and actually gauge what is the interest in that, because we know we have many girls' leagues, and of course we have in-county.
I just want to add on to like the clubs. I know here at Reservoir, there are like 25 or so boys that have joined a boys volleyball club, to we group around, and we ask the girls volleyball coaches to if we could borrow their nets and balls, and we go in the aux gym on basketball when basketball has games, and we practice when basketball has their games in the aux gym.
Awesome. It's great to hear that you all are trying to figure out different places. Listen, I guess.
I want to hear the answer to that question.
Yeah, so, the co-ed part of it, there's a double-edged sword to that, too. I hate to be like the bad guy in all this. I have all these little things that I have to deal with, so, one of the things that I know Montgomery's really, struggled with is the girls that play the varsity level in the fall, they're not allowed to play the co-ed in the spring, because you can't play a club sport for your school in the same sport that you participate on the interscholastic level. So it'd be a totally different set of girls, which I think would help your cause. So it's a double-edged sword. I mean, you may not find as many, which still lends the problem of, we gotta bring in that girls component to it. But if you wanted to do it totally separate, then, we're kind of stuck in one way to do it.
So I do have a question when you mentioned about if we want to start with some more or less formal club-sponsored club level team at each school, like you mentioned hockey. So if, for example, if one club want to do this, where should they start? Should they start to contact someone from your office or from the individual school? Because you want to have a league, right?
Yeah, the individual school, but like Maryland Juniors, that would be a place to start and say, look, we want to start a league in Howard County. You can partner with Howard County Public Schools to use the facilities and those types of things and
So
get those
then I'm
clubs
asking,
going.
if they want to have this partnership, where should they start? Should they start with at individual school level, or they should start with your office to looking for, because there is some, you need coaches, facilities. I know hockey you use outside the facility, maybe it's not too much of conflict there, right?
Well, yeah.
But that would be because.
But it's like middle school basketball here. We don't sponsor middle school basketball teams. They're sponsored by the youth leagues around the area, but they say they're from
There's a
this
team
school
for
or
every
that
middle
school. But they're not affiliated with us at all, but they have a competitive season.
So you basically use the facility as any outside organization using facility. You pay the rent, you book the.
If you're a club team that's sponsored by the school, you wouldn't have to pay that. You get the facility, you just work with your AAM at the school, and they can get that facility for you after school. But once it hits 6 o'clock, then it's rec and park. It's their.
Well, you still need a sponsor from school.
You still need a sponsor from school, yes.
And the rule of the teacher has to be there all the time, still applicable?
Has to be a staff member present for any of our clubs.
Okay.
So there's a few different ways of, you're proposing one idea, but that's not really in alignment with our club program at the high school level, sponsored clubs. You're talking about a club team, and like the basketball league has a representative team from each school community, but they're run totally separate from the school system. They apply and use our space just like any outside group can. Ice hockey is a little different because, as you said, they're using outside facilities. It's a completely different organization that we don't have any affiliation other than we love to go and watch.
Can they have, I've heard that sometimes, when substitute teachers have come in and they have been able to sponsor teams as well, is that still something that they have done? I've heard parents go in and become substitute teachers so that they can sponsor a sport. I've heard that happen before.
We do have in a couple of our high schools, a sponsor or two that have gone through the background check, the process, and they have become, if it's a stipend activity, stipend club, they become a contractor to the school system. But they've gone through the background process. And we'd be happy to work with that process if that's something that we want to explore within this group. As time goes, definitely could help.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, just to be clear, you said Montgomery County, it's through the school, Montgomery County Schools, their
Yes.
volleyball program. So if that's in fact, and, you know, I think we're all in tune to sports here in Howard County with whether it be volleyball, football, basketball, baseball, how does Montgomery County get around the Title IX requirements if they seemingly have the same sports that they participate in as the rest of the counties in the state?
They offer a lot more sports than we do. They're a much bigger system. So they have swimming and diving, we do not. They've
Okay.
got- they have a bunch
So
of different
what can we do to level the playing field? I mean, there's only, in my opinion, there's only three avenues for our boys, and this is the snippet of the boys that play volleyball, to get exposure to volleyball in the county. Number one, it's Maryland Juniors, $10 a night for Friday night's open gym. There's structure, there's some structure. It's pickup. There's trying out for Maryland Juniors, or I believe there's another team in the state too, which, not every boy in this room, I could venture to say, or that plays volleyball has the means or the financial background or financial wherewithal to pay $3,000 to get in the door if you make the team, with the unassociated travel costs. So I think everybody's asking the question, what are you guys willing to do to help us? We can go to Maryland Juniors and say, hey, can we rent out gym space, but that's coming out of our pocket. Can we go to the school system and say, hey, I know after 6 o'clock, it's EYO, HCYP, or whomever that get these gyms. Hey, can we work with the school system that now every high school has a boys club team? Hey, EYO, or hey, whoever rents Howard or Reservoir High School out on Friday nights, you're not getting these two high schools Friday night because we're giving it to our boys.
Yeah.
I understand there's gonna be a cost associated to the parents starting something up that's not sponsored by the school. But I think everybody in this room is looking for a perfect marriage instead of saying, hey, let's do club. Hey, let's work together to do this club.
Yes, yes. I think that's a
Uh,
very good
not to-
suggestion, yes.
Not to, you know.
Yeah, actually last year, at the end of last semester, the boys from River Hill, they were trying to arrange inter-school, what is it called? Scrimmage? Yeah. So it's like they were trying, this is the first time, boys, they want to arrange such kind of scrimmage with Glenelg. So they come to me and saying they don't know where to get started. I think it's a little bit hard for them to do the coordination. So what kind of support they can get from you if they really want to arrange the club level,
That's
like
where
for-
the sponsor would come in. So if you're sponsored, let me first step back a little bit. Does every team have a sponsor that's a staff member at their school? Okay,
These are club teams,
right, so
not
that's,
high school clubs. That's the difference.
oh, I get that.
Yeah.
But you said you had a club team at the school.
Mhm.
I think
Right.
it's-
Yeah, I'm talking about a club team at school, each high
I think
school.
River Hill High School football, the club, the high school club actually has a sponsor, but if you ask the sponsor to be there Friday night, it's gonna be challenging for a teacher. That's the thing, I think we run this problem for many other clubs too.
So Friday night's not gonna be an option, because we don't have control of that. We
Right.
have control between after school and 6 o'clock.
So you can see the challenges associated with this, have a school club team, the sponsorship is a huge, challenge here, and also the facility where we mentioned. So that's why we're looking for, if we have a formal school athletic program, that would be really helpful.
Oh, sure.
We school all the.
That's all
all
and
the-
But I
everything.
don't think the sponsor piece is insurmountable.
No.
I feel like it's more of a, if this is something we wanna really get behind, and some of it may be communication, some of it may be, there may be people out there who are interested, there may be a deputy superintendent sitting around who wants to be a sponsor, right? So I don't think that would be insurmountable, and it seems like that would be one path forward to get started in a way where you're not adding another sport. It just sounds like we have a couple pathways to be able to outline, okay, with this pathway, here's what we would need to have, and this pathway, here's what we would need to have. But I'm not hearing anything today that says like this can't happen at all in some pathway.
That organizational piece is what's missing. And that's where the sponsor would come in. If you had that sponsor, then they're the ones that would communicate with the athletics and activities manager at the school for the facilities. They would contact the other sponsors from around the county and set up things for you guys to participate in. But without that, you're not gonna have that organizational piece that's comes along with that communication.
So just thinking out loud, because like our school, I don't know other schools, have 3 girls volleyball team. Can we maybe just have one team, have a co-ed to play with the boys? That may be like easier, solution. Just thinking out loud, like what we can do to push this forward.
Yeah, so.
Because it's really biased to me.
So what happens when we add a sport, right, and this is the process I was talking about now, is y'all as students and parents would give us a proposal. Say, we would like to start boys volleyball, here's our rationale, here's our criteria, and then we would look at it. We would say, okay, I'll take it to what's called the Committee for Interscholastic Athletics. Basically, it's athletics and activities managers, principals, myself, and Mr. Saunderson here. And we would sit down and we would talk about all the things that go along with it. The financial piece of it, the transportation piece, the coaching piece of it, the scheduling piece of it, the facilities piece of it. All those things we would consider and then make a recommendation to the superintendent through my chief, which is Dr. Dennis. All right, would make that recommendation whether we're gonna move forward with it or not, depending on what we come up with in our numbers and those types of things. But the more information you give us, the better outcome we can come up with, and the feasibility may be a little bit better.
So I want to manage expectations, and I want to also do a check in terms of time. I've got another group waiting for me next door that I need to be at 4:30. And so what my goal was tonight, as I stated at the beginning, was to listen, to understand, and then to convey if there's any confusion. I would not be meeting with you if there wasn't an interest on my part. So I say that just to let you know of my interest. Bringing all of you together demonstrates my interest in responding to the community in an affirming way. Brought the experts with me tonight to define those roads forward. And I think at the end, what I'm hearing very clearly articulated, we can get into all the variables that affect that. Dr. Turner Little has said none of those are creating any concern for us as far as being insurmountable. But we're not going to jump from here to here tomorrow. We've got to start, and I'm making the commitment to start that tonight, even though you may have met a couple of years ago. Let me now kind of move this forward at a different level. So if we could, in terms of summarizing next steps, you're saying, what I heard you say, was the establishment of a written proposal, and since I have so many wonderful students here, what that would look like, which would be then in the form of a letter to individuals with all the outlined information. He's provided once that happens in writing, then there is an obligation for us to respond, taking that through the process of the committee of which you said that would outline for me all of the necessary components. I gotta go into this eyes wide open. I don't wanna create a situation that's set up for failure. I wanna set a situation that's set up for success. And those obstacles, again, not insurmountable, how do we address those so that we can get to our end goal of what that would look like with it? So I think that's pretty clear for me, and what I was hoping. I want to give a level of hope of a process to move this forward, right? That's what I'm trying to do tonight. But I wanted you to have a broader perspective of the Title IX considerations and recognizing the response back here of the counties that have a lot more offerings. I am confined by that, but again, not insurmountable. Something we can't come over. And I have to admit, I'm very interested in flag football for our girls as well. So that's something that's extremely gaining in popularity. So if that would help us in any way, how we would advance that too. So as far as the next steps and what we can talk about tonight, I'd like to funnel that through here and ask you to figure out some point people that would put this proposal together for us and bring that together. I'm not asking for a dissertation. I think that Mr. Davis would then give us an outline of what would be required in that. And then, as I stated, just to understand for all of you, I have staff members, the athletic and activities managers, and that's the committee that makes this up, the experts in all of our areas, who would review that and make that recommendation to myself and the deputy on that level. So I think that's real clear.
Yeah, and the only clarifying question, Mr. Davis, is the proposal only for adding a sport? Okay, so if we get a proposal for adding sport from this group, that's one thing. But we could provide what all would be needed for like a different route. Like if you wanted to do club, this would be all, and we could provide that. So if you provide the proposal about adding a sport, we could provide, but if it's not a sport, if it's an entry point of a club, or if it's another entry point, here's the because we don't need more information to know what we need to do that. That's not something that you would need to give us, correct?
Right,
Okay.
we do the feasibility.
Gotcha.
Is that clear? Can we do that? Okay, so what I would need from you is point people who will be responsible for following up here. Mr. Saunderson will take that information. We can begin that communication to help guide that, and then we'll take it through that review process. I think that's a good first step. Again, yes, I see your hand.
So in Glenelg, we also have like an auxiliary gym and a main gym. But if we wanted to play club, how would we use a gym if both of them are being used already? Because dance and cheer uses auxiliary, and then we have volleyball and basketball being used by the main gym.
Right, so you're looking at spring.
This is spring.
You're looking at spring for the facilities being available for you. Otherwise, you're gonna fight that battle all the way through, and it's not good. So
And it's
it would
also
be-
the season, that's the season, like, if, again, as you were building this out, if you ever wanted to compete with Montgomery County, that is spring is the season for boys volleyball and co-ed. Girls are in the fall.
Right, and that wouldn't change if it became an MPSSA sport from the state level. It would happen in the spring. So there wouldn't be any changing back and forth between the fall and the spring. It would be a spring sport for the males.
So what did you say?
You started the second question.
I was just asking, like, since it's a club sport, we're probably not going to be able to play with like other counties as well. So, I mean, is there really a season for it, like, to start?
You're just talking about practical availability.
Right, yeah, just availability of the facilities
Fall,
themselves.
winter.
Fall and winter are packed, and the spring is where we have the most availability.
And Montgomery County does an inter-county championship.
Right, they don't play out
They
there.
play with
Yeah.
other schools, they don't go outside.
Yes, sir.
Assuming that we actually do get a sponsorship, what kind of steps will we take after getting that sponsorship to make our team?
So that would be really the sponsor's responsibility to do that and organize your team at the school level, and go from there.
What I'd love to, because I think you're asking a great question, but it's really getting into those next steps. I think if we could get the proposal, and it'd be awesome to have one student rep from each school, so that we could probably get together in a couple weeks and talk through the different options in more detail and what steps you'd have to take very specifically, because we're talking about multiple options here. We're talking about high school sports teams, the possibility of creating a club league outside of school, and then what can we do with clubs inside school? There's multiple avenues we can take here, and all those avenues have been taken at different levels by sports coming into the high school league. You mentioned the basketball league at the middle school level, which has a team at each middle school in 8th grade. Some of you may have participated, and that is a competitive league. And then there are clubs within our schools. We have over 275 clubs representing our 13 high schools, and there's many other athletic clubs that are participating. So as Dr. Turner Little said, none of this is insurmountable. We just have to kind of decide what is the best avenue to take and what is feasible, what is doable. So it'd be great if I could get a student rep from each school to help us as contacts, and then we can work through that in the next couple of weeks, getting back together.
So I need to go, and we need to go. I gotta get across the ARL here momentarily. And I just wanna thank you for being here. Thank you for your advocacy and articulating the goals that are necessary to move this forward. I wanted to be real clear with my goals tonight, which was to provide you with information. And I appreciate you being here, and we'll work on this together, okay? Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll stay here with you. Bye, everyone.
So we'll come up, if we can get a representative from each school, you give us your contact information.
Mr. Davis, can I ask one more question real quick? With us, with the Title IX numbers for Harris County? Yeah, I'll come up to you.